All right, we are ready to get started. I hope everybody had a great weekend. I know it rained a little bit out there, but we're finally getting some sun back, and it looks like things might be loosening up a little bit coming up soon here. So who knows when we're going to get back and going. But thank you very much again for attending this call. Last week was a lot of fun with guest coach Derek Dennis from the Calgary Stampeders hopping on the call. We have a couple more guest coaches coming up over the next 2 or 3 weeks. I'm going to continue doing these seminars or webinars or whatever you want to call them until probably until the end of May. And then we'll all hopefully be involved in our Pee Wee seasons, our Atom seasons, and our Bantam seasons at least by that time. We had an update from Football Alberta, unfortunately canceling the U16 Bantam tournament, but they did have a bit more of a hopeful tone than I've heard in the past towards hosting a Bantam year and looking towards the high school year. So hopefully with all the news coming out of everything opening it up, we're finally going to be getting some positive news coming up. But that's the latest from Football Alberta. I'll keep you all posted as soon as I hear things, and we can go from there. So want to get right into practice today. What we're going to be talking about again is reading coverages. I wanted to do a little bit more work. We have, let's see, we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 quarterbacks on the call right now. So because of that, I wanted to talk a little bit more about some of the passing game. So for Tristan Scott and Peter, I'm sorry. Just pretend that you guys are going to grow really good hands and get out there. But that's what we're going to be talking about today. So one of the things I want to start with is our warm-up. I think it's important that we talk about warm-ups all the time and drills. So coaches, here are some of my favorites. We're going to talk about receiver drills. I'm going to go over a little bit of cover 0, a lot of cover 1, and a little bit of cover 3 today. I noticed on the first time I did kind of a coverages talk, I didn't really talk about man coverage as much as I could have, so I wanted to circle back and make sure we have a good talk about the tells and what kind of things we can take advantage of. And as quarterbacks, the biggest thing I think we can do is get a good pre-snap read in. So that's what we're going to be focusing on today. Our first drill is going to be a pre-practice ball dexterity drill. So you're going to hold a football, move it around your body, switching hands front and back. You're going to repeat with each leg and hold the ball out in front of it, drop it, catch it before it hits the ground. We're going to be doing these 10 times each. This is pre-practice, so you're going to get out there before a coach is there. You're going to grab a football. This is something I think all receivers, all running backs, all quarterbacks can do. I'll pull over some tape here and show you what I'm talking about. So here's the look. I'll just get full screen here. So nothing too complicated, right? Easy to do. You can do this while talking to your friends. You can do this by gabbing about your day. But what it does is it gets your hands used to the football. It gets your hands used to what it feels like to have football in them all the time, right? Really concentrate on your fingers touching the football, catching it with the top of your fingers. Don't catch the palm. We're going around the legs, going around the legs. Again, I would switch up my pre-practice drills, one different one a day, and just take advantage of the 15 minutes you have pre-practice. We run this a little bit more, a little bit faster. We're going to move on to the next part of this. You know, trying to get as fast as we can, some figure 8 action. And then just picking up the football and dropping it down. Peter, does everybody else have sound? If everybody could comment to make sure, or at least one of you comment. Okay, Hayden has sound, works here. Sorry, Peter, I'm not 100% sure what's going on with your computer there. But, okay, next drill here, okay, we're just dropping the football. You know, get used to your fingers touching the football. You know, like I said, this is pre-practice, so it doesn't have to be too high intensity or anything like that. Right? As you can see behind these guys, practice hasn't started yet. You know, we're in early outs. and these guys are just getting in extra reps, right? You want to make sure you have a football in your hands as much as possible as a receiver. You can go a whole practice without getting a football thrown your way. That's why I'm really big on your indie times always ending with a football either coming at you or working like that. Coaches on the call, always make sure you're ending your drills by throwing a football at a kid's head. Like I said, you can go through all of indie, all of special teams, you can go all of install, and that receiver might not have touched the football the whole time. Only one guy out of 4 or 5 gets the football at a play. So when you have 15 minutes to work receiver drills, make sure there's a football at the end of it. Moving on to the next one. This is just a lie-down drill. One player lies flat on his back. Quarterback will throw the football at chest level, catch the balls, eyes to tuck. Again, nothing you haven't seen before, but what I want to do is show you different ways to do the same things. So when you get out there, you can shake it up and get a little bit of variety. So that's the last drill. Nice and easy here. I don't like them throwing it back. I couldn't find the clip that I wanted, but I would like him to catch it. You see the nice eyes on the football. I'd like to see him tuck it away and then throw it back. Okay, but I didn't find the clip exactly the way I wanted it. Now I would do this 10 times, switch sides. You know, anytime you could be throwing or catching a football, important to do. Okay, next one, and then we'll move on to the highlights of the video. Okay, we have the 1 second drills. So the receiver has his back turned to the quarterback. Quarterback throws the ball 2 seconds later. Receiver reacts and eyes to tuck. Okay, so the receiver, quarterback is going to call ball, and receiver's going to turn around, and we're just going to whip the football right at chest level, right? The point of this is not to make it too hard that he can't catch it, but it's to read and react, right? Find the football with your eyes. Okay, catch it with your hands, not your body. Bring it in. I would really like this guy, whoever's running these drills, to really focus on the eyes to tuck portion. Right now, they're not doing that. Like I said, after he catches it, put it away, eyes to tuck, and then go from there. Okay, those little things, muscle memory, are super important, and they're going to come in real handy. Okay, so let's talk about coverages. Okay. I couldn't find a lot of cover zero clips. Not a lot of teams do it. I'll do another session on cover zero because I think it's super important to have a look at it. Cover zero is really an all or nothing thing from the defense. They are going to be bringing a lot of heat. They're going to be bringing a lot of guys at you. The whole point is to get to the quarterback before the ball gets off. That being said, it really does open up the field for us. So how do we know it's cover zero? Pretty simple. Okay, so when we talk about cover zero, cover 1, cover 2, cover 3, cover 4, we're talking about high players. Okay, and what I mean by a high player is a safety back here or a corner dropping to the deep third pre-snap, that kind of thing. So cover 3 is 3 deep, cover 4 is 4 deep, cover 2 is 2 deep. In this case, we're in cover 0. Okay, now, the reason why I call it cover 0, some people might look at this as quarters coverage, but I think they're too far in the box. And all game long, these guys played us tight. As you can see, we're moving up. I believe this is a good cover 0 look, the best I can. So where they're really weak here, in my mind, is a nice hole shot here to the middle. Okay? So when you see cover 0, we have a read in my football program. I know the Stampeders have a read in their football programs of just it's called MOFO. For you parents on the call, it's not as bad as it sounds. What it means is middle of the field open. So on routes where we have a 7 or a post or any sort of control route, when I say control route, I mean running right at the safety to control him, to hold him in the middle of the field. Okay, so if we're running a control route against cover 0, you're now not trying to control the safety. It now just becomes a quick 7 post, right? You're trying to get to the center of the field, and you're trying to get downfield as quickly as you can. Okay, so same terminology down at the Storm as well. Okay, So mofo doesn't mean you're going to take the whole shot, but I want the quarterback to at least acknowledge in this situation that we believe the middle of the field is open and we can throw that deep. We didn't have the right play call here, but I wanted to show you the coverage. And see right here, this player is, even though he's covered by two guys, he's behind coverage. There is no deep cover player here. And that, to me, is a winning route. We just we didn't get it. We actually score a touchdown on this play because we throw a screen pass, and our running back does some pretty fancy things. I feel sorry for people who have to play against him this year. He's going to be something else. But like I said, that whole shot was there, and we had a chance to make a big play there. Okay, again, same team. The other times you may see cover zero. This is a goal line situation. You're going to see it a lot. You're also going to see it in short yardage positions. It's one of the primary reasons why in short yardage, I actually like to have 4 receivers on the field to a side. I really like to stretch it out because if teams are going cover zero and it's 2nd and 1, there's nothing wrong with taking a deep shot in that situation to the ISO guy or to one of the 4 players, especially if we have cover zero. Okay, it really opens up your playbook on 2nd and 1. And to me, if you can't get 1 yard on 3rd down, you have bigger problems. So I don't mind taking a shot on 2nd down and living to fight for 3rd down. But again, right here, you can tell, I know this contour kind of says some sort of zone coverage, but I don't think he's deep enough. So I'm calling this cover zero. There's not a lot of backpedaling before. I know he's looking in, but we're going to take a shot right at him. And if we got behind him in coverage, if the ball was a little bit further behind, we'd be kicking an extra point there. So cover zero is super aggressive from the defense. I want you to watch what happens in the backfield, though. This is why they do it. They want to get to the quarterback. They want to get people blitzing. If you have a successful run game, you're going to see some cover zero as well. Okay, super aggressive look from the defense. Last clip I have for cover zero, and then we'll move on to a little bit more conventional look. Okay, so again, I'm looking at this cover zero mainly because nobody is deeper than 6 or 7 yards. Even if you have somebody who, and this player will kind of look at a safety look, but I think he's too far back. So to me, my pre-snap read is my cover zero rules still apply. So on this, we're going to attack the boundary side, and I'm going to do a lot more of this as a coordinator this year. I really like plays towards the boundary. I find defenses cheat a little bit there, and some of these players aren't as strong. And I'm gonna really work that side. But in this case, the reason why I'm working it is because there's nobody deep, and I want to make this a short throw here. I think number 1 is going to beat this corner, even though he's backpedaling. We have a nice seam, and we had a special player. So I think if we're in one-on-one coverage, Blaze is going to win that battle all the time. But again, they're not setting themselves up for success here. This is an obvious passing down. It's 1st down. We're not at the red zone. They give us a cover zero look. I'm fine with chucking that up and kicking an extra point. Any questions on cover zero? I know that isn't the most pure look I can give you of it. I'm going to try to find some more. I'm still combing through about 6 more years worth of tape. So once I get a little bit more, I might do a whole session on different cover zero looks and different pressure situations that come of it. But any questions on the chat for cover zero? Okay, since nothing's coming in, let's talk a little bit about cover 1 here. Okay, and my rules apply. Why do we call it cover 1? Anybody on the chat want to answer that one? Yep, we got 1 man deep. Okay, so we're going to look at cover 1 for the next little bit of plays here. But this play, you can tell it's man coverage early. We're going to get the motion player, I really want to kind of show you guys some tricks of this too. So the motion player is going to come over. For one, that's our one high player, right? We have a motion guy in motion here. I know his body is contoured differently, and I know it kind of looks like his own look from where he's standing, but to me, the giveaway, this player here, this player's deep, and they're tracking over. I'm going to go with our man-beating rules here, and it is man coverage. Players get lost, and we go from there, right? Man coverage, again, plays that work really well are rubs, plays where you're running away from people, deeper shots, that kind of thing. Plays that don't work as well are like hooks and stuff like that, where somebody's sitting over top. So again, watch the motioning player coming over. That's your key sign, right? And the one player deep. Okay, play number 4 here. Or sorry, play number 5. This is a really good look at contour here. So again, this player is given the whole farm away. Look at his eyes, locked on his receiver here. His body locked on this receiver here. Okay. So he's giving it away pre-snap. So if I'm the quarterback here, I like to get out of the huddle quickly. And quarterbacks that are on the call, the reason why you want to get out of the huddle quicker is you want to use all of that 20 seconds to give yourself enough time to figure out what you want to see on the field, right? So if you have to rush out of the huddle, if we're walking to the line of scrimmage, you might miss something like this, right? This player is giving away the coverage. You know, so make sure we break the huddle quickly and we can go from there. Okay. Right now, this is our safety, believe it or not. He is so far back. So when we have this kind of look, we had burned them a couple times deep on this. You know, you could even run and sit right here. You can run a dig route in front of him, especially if you had like a post up here. You know, you could really attack that safety. He's really deep here. But we're just going to run a nice rub concept. I liked it better down here. I wish our quarterback would have hit this one. But that's okay. We still get a successful play out of it. We could go from there. Okay, again, when we're working our rubs, we want to try to get shoulder to shoulder with our player, right? If we can manage that, we can't possibly get called for interference. You're allowed your own space. If a defender runs into you, it's not a pick. But if you run into the defender, that will be called every time. Okay, so next here, this is something, a little trick that receivers can look at. If you want to help out your quarterbacks, this is really good here. Okay, so, and I'll show you it a little bit more subtly later. But as he moves on the line, this guy is chasing, right? So because he's chasing down the line, that tells me that it's man coverage, and we've got cover 1 over top. There's nobody else deep, and he is really deep, right? So this is a really aggressive cover 1. But receivers, and I'll show you a really nice look at this later, our defensive coaches will teach leverage, right? So against man coverage, they'll teach either inside leverage or outside leverage. Whatever their system is, they're going to teach a certain type of leverage on the receiver. So if you subtly move, if you start off really tight to the line and start widening out just before the snap, you're allowed to move down the line. What that's going to do is it's also going to tell you whether it's man or zone. Because if that player moves to get back his leverage on you, and he moves to get his feet back to where he's been coached to be on, he's going to give you a tell that that's man coverage. If he kind of doesn't care and stays outside of you and stays contoured, you've got a good idea that it's probably zone, right? But in this case, you see that player moving over, and we go from there, right? Not a bad rub here, right? I would like this player to get a little bit closer, because if he gets closer, we're going to come right off, and we actually would have got an interference call there if the referee was really watching. If you see the hand, come in right here. I know some defensive coaches might disagree with me, but if you see number 4 here, he's kind of lost, so he has nothing to do but to put his hand out, right? Moving on. Okay, we're going to get the same pre-snap motion, okay? As we're motioning over, this player's motioning over too. Again, we burnt them deep, so these guys were playing off quite a bit this game, but we still have one high. We still have a lower defender not wanting to get beat deep. His contour says zone, but he's not getting anybody to the flats. I would have liked this not to be an interception. I also would have liked my receiver to go up and get the football here. So what we were trying to do here is wait for the defender to miss. I would like to get into a battle here. And receivers, there's not an offensive coordinator in the world that will get mad at you for grabbing this kid and throwing him down to the ground at this point. I would rather take a 15-yard interference penalty than to throw an interception. Okay? So don't be afraid to go up for the ball and fight for it. And at the end of the day, if you have to do whatever you can to make sure he doesn't catch the football, do that. Okay. Safety on the next play is so deep, he's almost out of the play. Our pre-snap read is the same as we see the DB track over. Okay. So we track over as well. Again, we get a really nice read from the corner down here. He pokes his head in a little bit, but then right there, he snaps it right back. You can see he's got leverage on his receiver. He is wanting to get that man coverage here. And we're actually going to pick on him. So I'll let this run. We'll make a really nice catch. Somehow this referee calls this inbounds, which was amazing. But what would I like to see this receiver do a little bit differently? Can anybody have any suggestions what could have made this a more successful football play? I know, Kalen. It's not just a hands up, but Kalen here is really limiting himself. If you can't really see it because there's a bit of people here. But look how many yards we have here. We only have 3 yards, right? And we're actually lining up in what I like to call the quarterback's lawn. So from the numbers out, I like to call that the quarterback's lawn. Okay? What I mean by that is you don't go on that lawn until your quarterback gives you permission to go there. Okay? He can give you permission only by one way, and that's by throwing you to that area. Okay? This one's okay. So if Kalen were to be in a little bit more here and we're running this route here, yes, it gives the safety more of a chance to make the play, but the safety is going to be concerned otherwise, right? And now instead of Adam having to make a perfect throw, because right here we only have a yard, right? So unless this ball is perfect, Kalen has no room to go out. But if Kalen's here, that gives our quarterback 5 yards of a margin of error. He can throw a fade. He can throw a receiver open that way. It doesn't have to be a perfect throw. So receivers, do your quarterbacks a favor and don't go on their lawn unless you're invited. But again, beautiful catch, beautiful sell job. And again, still can't believe that was called a catch. Now, here's what I'm talking about with the receiver being a little bit more subtle, okay? So if we watch this receiver down here, okay, watch how he moves. So he realizes I got to move out a little bit. I believe this was a run play, so we wanted him to be a little bit more spaced out. So as he moves out, you're going to watch this player try to recover his spacing, right? He's been told that he needs to be at a certain spot, so he does, right? That tells me a little bit more about what kind of coverage you're looking at. Now, this isn't the situation where this guy rolled over to cover, okay? This halfback is all by himself over there. But what they are doing is they're going to bump out this linebacker to cover this guy. This linebacker, or this halfback's going to cover his guy. It's still a cover one look to me. But that little subtle movement from the receiver, right? Little subtle movement from the receiver tells me it's man coverage, right? So receivers, you can do this on your own. There's nothing that says that you can, as long as you're where you need to be by the time the ball is snapped, nothing says you have to stay static on the line. Okay? Unless you're actively coached that way, unless there's a really good reason for it, mess with the DB a little bit, move around a little bit, get to know him a little bit that way, right? It does help you later on. So I put that on there to kind of show that. I don't remember what the play was. I don't think it was very successful. Yeah, it was a run play. But that little tell will give us that tell on the coverage. That makes sense, receivers? All right, next here. We're going to get a look at that linebacker bump out, okay? So sometimes that halfback comes over. I like to call that HBR. Sometimes they'll rotate the halfback back to safety, and the safety will come down. I also call that HBR. In this case, they're not going to do any of that. They're just going to bump out a linebacker. This team had some pretty decent linebackers that year, pretty good cover kids. It's still man coverage as far as I'm concerned, but it's now a linebacker doing it, right? So you get a different look from time to time, but it's the same concept. Right? It's really hard to run cover 3 if you only have one guy deep. So that's always a good tell. Perfect. Okay, next one. Where are we? Okay, I wanted to put this one on. It's almost a cover 0 look. We have a safety back here. I would kind of call it a cover 0 look. But why I wanted to put this on here is just to know where we are on the field, okay? Zone coverages give up 5-10-yard plays quite easily. That's where they're weakest. So when you're in the red zone, teams try to take that away from you by going man almost exclusively. I'd be shocked if teams didn't go man almost 90% of the time in the end zone. In the red zone. If they don't, they're actually inviting you to take a pretty easy take. So quarterbacks, if you're playing against a team and you see cover 3 within the 20-yard line, tell your coordinators, have that conversation with them, let them know that that's what's going on, and you might be able to take advantage of it. A couple of years ago, we were playing against a team that no matter what they were cover 3, we were on the 3-yard line. They had a monster D-line, but their corner was lining up 7 yards off. We kept throwing hitches, and the wide receiver ended up scoring 3 touchdowns that game within 3 yards because they just wouldn't cover it. But for the most part, you're going to see man coverage here. That's why we look to that back 8 to the corner. That's why we look at our crossing routes or our rub routes. Also, it's really nice to release this running back into the flats. If he doesn't get covered or he gets covered late by a linebacker, you can get a successful play out of that. Okay, but you're most likely going to get man coverage in the red zone is what I want you to think about. On this play, we go backside for the same reason we were just talking about. It's easy to beat a player one-on-one. We didn't like this corner as much, and we thought we'd have a good jump ball against them. But again, cover 1 in the end zone. A lot of times you'll see cover 0 in the end zone. Nice catch there. Okay, let's go with, I believe this is our last man clip. Maybe not, actually. Let's see here. So you're going to see that linebacker bump a little bit. You're going to see the safety come back. Sorry, it's not a linebacker. It's the safety rotating down. So instead of having that halfback roll over, or instead of the linebacker bouncing out to cover, they're actually going to rotate their safety down, and they're going to have this guy come back. Now, I know some teams do this. I think you're putting a guy who doesn't play safety very well in a very tough position, and you're also putting a guy who doesn't play halfback very well in a tough position, right? I like this situation because we've got guys out of their natural positions, and I find that's a good way to win, right? Here we're running kind of a rub concept. We don't actually get a good playoff because our line doesn't hold up, but we're going deep at the bottom here. Now, this is a nice example, though, of the spacing that we talked about previous, right? So here's the quarterback's lawn, right? We don't want to go on it at all until the quarterback throws us open. So this receiver actually does a nice job of staying on that path. And if Danny wanted to put the ball here, I know he was under pressure, but if he wanted to fade it out a little bit because the coverage was so tight, he could have given Ty an easier chance to catch this ball. If you watch the Cochrane Cobras, they do this so well. They know where they are on the field at all times, and their receivers are really nice to watch for that reason. Really fun to play against. But Danny could have thrown him out here. It doesn't have to be a perfect throw. Okay, last clip here for cover one, and then we're going to go cover three. Okay. Again, we know it's cover one. Why? Because we have one high player. As we motion over, you're going to see safety rotate down, halfback rotate up. Okay, and then watch some contours here. Head, feet, giving away the coverage here. Up here, head, feet, giving away the coverage here. Okay, this is a good example of why I like safeties playing halfback. We kind of get lost in the shuffle and they play it off. If we were able to hit this right here, we'd have 3 cover defenders being beat by 1 player, and we have a wide open player back here, okay? Now, again, they had a monster D-line. There wasn't much we could do about that. But this is why I kind of like it when teams do that coverage against us, because it does really put guys out of position. All right, moving on. Any questions on man coverage? Anything on what I just covered there? Anything? I'll give you a couple of seconds to ask in the chat, and then I'm going to go over a couple of cover 3 ones. No questions? All right, moving along. Okay. So here's how we line up again. Here's how I see this as a cover 3. I think I have the coordinator who is calling this against me on the call, so correct me if I'm wrong, Coach Ford. But here's what I see. I see a deep defender here. I see a deep defender here. And if you watch 29 leave early, he's contoured is wrong for me for this to be man coverage. And he starts backpedaling and getting deep. Okay, so we have 3 guys deep. It's kind of a cover 3 look there. Perfect. Okay, we're going to get one more look at it. Okay, now, again, if we look at our spacing here, I'm not happy about this right here because, and you'll see why, this is all wrong. We should be, especially if we're on the wide side of the field, we should be on the numbers here. Okay, I know we're going to bounce a guy over here, but it's important that we know where we are on the field at all times. This is going to be cover 3 again. Right, we're motioning over. Oh, wait, what am I talking about? That's man coverage. Sorry, it gets even worse then for me here if it's man coverage. If it's man coverage here, the concept that we're working here is a 6-yard hitch, 6-yard hitch, and an 8. Pardon my drawing there, which makes this a little bit worse for me. And the reason why is because if this player is in here a little bit more, this player also would be in here more. If we stopped here and we did our job, we actually would have had a chance to make this 8. But because we get a little bit nosy, we get a little bit downfield, we're now bringing this defender into a cover 3 position, right? see the corner to throw the corner, but this corner should have never been there. Okay, we should have had this corner covering a hitch down here, and we should have had the 8 over top. So make sure we know our jobs. Make sure we know our spacing. I know this can be really tough if your field doesn't have markers on it. So either invest in getting the field burnt or painted, or you can even use cones to do it to make sure that it's there. But again, make sure our spacing is right and make sure you know what your job is. 81 needed to come back right here. If you would have done that, I think we would have had a nice inside track here. But instead, really tough throw from the quarterback, and we're in a bad position there. Don't know how that made it into the cut, actually. These days without working are... Okay. So again, we've got one high, but let's look at the contour here, right? This contour, face mask looking at the quarterback, legs looking at the quarterback. A little bit more subtle from this player here too, right? This player, I can't tell from his contour, but what I can tell is how quickly he turns and gets out of dodge here. Okay, same thing is going on out here. Same thing is going on out here. We're in a cover 3 situation, right? So again, one of my favorite cover 3 beaters is all verts, all 9s. Safety makes an impossible decision. Again, I feel bad for safeties in cover 3 when you have a quarterback who knows how to use his eyes, because they can really move you. Now, quarterbacks, you don't always have to be just using your eyes. Use your face masks, okay? So if you turn your face mask to a player 40 yards different, it doesn't make a big difference. Your eyes can still be looking to the side. They could still be looking at a different player, but your face mask is going to be what they're going to be following on a quick look, right? So you look off the one receiver, throw to the backside, you're going to have a successful play, okay? So Adam does a pretty good job right there. You see his head right there. He's looking right. This is my receiver. This is my guy, the guy I'm going to throw to, and instead turns around and hits the backside. Okay. The safety cannot be right in that situation, and it puts them in a tough spot, right? And we want to exploit whatever the defense is offering, and defenses want to disguise things as much as they can, right? Okay, play number 4. Got a couple more to go, and then I'll let you go for the day. Okay. Cover 3. Okay, this is the same team. This looks kind of like a cover 1 look right now, right? But let's see what happens. See that right there? Giving it away. He's getting deep before anybody else is. Okay. This is definitely a cover 3 look, right? So good teams find ways to disguise this, because your pre-snap read here, we didn't have any motion on this to help the quarterback out, but we also see these linebackers playing a little bit wider. They kind of baited us here, okay? But right there, you see that turn and go. So if I'm the quarterback, I'm going to find a corner pre-snap, keep an eye on them, see what they're doing, right? So again, we had some wide open players down short because our corners got out of dodge, but we threw it a little bit too deep. Again, this quarterback wasn't really well prepared for this game. Poor kid had only 3 days practice at quarterback, so I'll give him a break. But that's a really good example of a team kind of hiding their coverage, right? The risk of hiding your coverage like this is that people won't be in the right position, right? If he doesn't do a good enough job getting back there, or this player can't get to the flats in time, we're going to have a bit of a different scenario. But Cowboys were a good team. They played us tough, and they're well coached. Play number 5. Okay, again from the Cowboys. You see that same look, right? This guy is trying to tell you, I am covering man coverage. No matter what, this is man coverage. Look at my body. Look at my body. But then when we motion, we get a little bit of bump out, but not enough to really tell, and nobody's really tracking that player. And then right there, that's the tell, right? He's a little bit late leaving, right? We don't do a great job of getting to the flats. This guy's well off, right? And we have a nice our play on the bottom there if we want it. We didn't take it because we looked into another spot, but right here, I think we probably could have got a hitch, our slant route here. But again, good teams hide their coverage. Good teams disguise it from you, right? And this is our last clip of the night. No, this is the first clip of the night. So that is what I had for everybody today. A little bit shorter of a session. I'm planning on some guest speakers, not this week, but next week. So make sure you don't miss it. If anybody has any topics you want me to talk about or anything you want me to research, feel free to send me an email. I'll put my email in the link. I have 400 hours worth of coaching seminars that I'm going through right now. So there's plenty of stuff that I could research, but if you have something you want to talk about on the call, feel free to email me and let me know, and I will get it up there. But thank you everybody for coming. Everybody have a great night, and I will see you all on Thursday.